Hello everyone, I'm Catherine Martin here today to go over mosaics with you and to teach you how to complete this beautiful project I have in front of you using what you have in your kit that's been provided to the library. So let's go over your kit and then we'll come back to our actual project. Hello and welcome, and this is very easy to do, but you have to follow steps. So the first thing you're going to see is that you were provided a board, okay, and if you flip the board on the back, you'll see that there are either holes and little nails. This is a great place or a great way to hang it up, but what might happen is these holes will get filled later with cement. Don't worry about that because you have this backup. So this is the back side, what you're looking at here. So you want to flip over to the front side to begin your work. Okay, so you have this in front of you. Now, a couple of things that are going to be needed for this project today are going to be some supplies such as gloves. Okay, and it's important because we're using real glass and real ceramics. They're not going to be shaped at the end or softened in any way, so the best way is to use gloves. Now we're going to get the real authentic mosaic, the artisan's version, because we're using the real pieces. So if ever you break a glass in your house or a dish and you want to save it, you can do your very own mosaic if you have the right supplies. So what I provided to you in your kit is more than a bag, a zippy bag filled with every kind of mosaic, different kinds of mosaics, and also mosaics that match the cup that I provided to you. I cut the cups in half, okay, and the cut side, the flat side, is going to go down on your wood. We'll get to that in a little while. I also provided some people with smaller bags of mosaics. These might be all the same size, style, sorry, that match your cup. And then there's also a small bag of glass. This is actual real glass chips that are broken. You have different colors, greens and blues. This serves really well to show how water moves, if you want to put that in your kit as well. And then of course inside of your kit you have a gigantic bag of cement. This is real cement, and so what it needs is just water to mix and make. In the kit also are a spoon and a popsicle stick, and of course your cup or your half cup, and a plastic cup is something like this, or maybe a used cup. Anything works. And then of course a popsicle stick. Now notice my hands have gloves. Notice I'm wearing a smock. Notice, if you can see, the table and my area is completely covered with protection like newspapers or cloth or any kind of stuff that you might have that could cover up the table. You want to try to also do a couple of other things, like complete this project where you have ventilation, meaning there's a lot of air circulating around, like a garage, an outside area. You could do it outside in your backyard, on your backyard table. Just make sure everything's covered up and that you have all your supplies at hand. You're also going to need water. So that's what I put in this cup already. If you could see, there's water in here. And then I have my two tools on hand, and I'm going to work on my actual board. So let me show you what I did next. And safety is the most important thing, so you keep these gloves on and you will not get any kind of nicks or cuts from the actual sharpness. And what I did was, and you could see it here, I used a tray and I laid out my entire bag of cut pieces, my chips, into a pattern that I like, that I want to reuse on my actual wood. Now by doing this, it lays out completely what you want to do. You don't have to stop the video or stop the project at any time, hopefully. The pieces have been cut into usable small, medium-sized pieces that you could easily place. And also, if you like, you can use a tweezer. If, let's say, you don't want to touch the actual pieces with your fingers or with your gloves. Sometimes I use a tweezer. That helps as well. It gets it into a good place where you're ready to go. So now that I have my pattern laid out, and that should take you some time. It took me quite some time to get the exact pattern that I wanted. I also laid down the sections where I wanted it to look like water. So let me show you on this one that I made. So here's my cup, my half cup. Okay, so I have it in the middle and I have it on an angle. So if I hold it this way, it's like it's showing kind of like it's pouring out. Or you could even use your cup to, if you want to use your cup on here, you can use it as sort of a planter. And you could also have water flowing from it. So that's what these are supposed to be looking like. Water, green and bluish colored water flowing from the pouring of the spout. And look, I alternated the colors. And that's what I'm going to do again today. I also alternated my patterns of my mosaic. Over here I found some with words. I put those together. I put colors or flowers or designs together. On the edge I put a pattern all around the edges. So let me turn this. And then over here I put some more patterns. Then I have a whole bunch of whites or beiges in between. And I have everything flowing out on the top of the cup. Now, what I was saying before is you could use this cup as a planter. You could put some soil in it and put one of those small cactuses, or any kind of little plant that you want to hang up. And then you could put it out in the garden. And it looks really adorable. Here's another example of a different project. It's also a mosaic, so that's why I'm showing it, to give you the idea of the pattern. So here's another one. I did this one for Father's Day, but it gives you an idea of the colors. See, I put different colors together. I made little flowers out of pieces. I put whites over here, blues, greens. I put a little sailboat here. What else do I have? I have blues down here to show like a little ocean, and blue tiles. Okay, and then what else? I have some greens in this section. So you could do it by color. You could just scramble it. It looks good really scrambled. And this one gives you a good idea of how thick or thin the cement is going to be. So what is cement and how does it work? So cement is a very strong adhesive that when you mix it with water, it becomes liquefied. And you don't want to make it too liquidy. You want it to make it sort of syrupy, like if you ever made pancakes or brownies or a cake batter, you want it to be that kind of thickness. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my cup of water. Now it's about a third full. So that's what I recommend. Everybody could pause the video, go get a third of a cup of water, or if you want to keep water near you, because you're going to need more throughout this experiment and this art project. And then have your bag of cement ready. Now some of the cements are a little bit lighter than others and some are darker. So when you wet it, the cement is going to change a little bit of color, just like when you're doing cooking recipes and you change the mixture and you add the ingredients. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to take spoonfuls. So here's the first spoonful from my bag, and you can have the bag right next to you. I would bend down or fold over the sides of the zippy bag, and then you're going to take maybe 3 or 4 scoopfuls and you're putting them in your cup with your water. So I have about 4 here. So now I'm going to go in and just mix it up a little bit and see what kind of mixture I get. And then of course if it's too liquidy, you're going to just keep adding a little bit of cement. So I crunch it up a little. It's mostly smooth, the cement, but there's sometimes a little bit of bumps, just like in a brownie mix or a cake batter. It's a little clumpy sometimes. So get those clumps out, and the way that you do that, you're going to stir, and you're going to keep stirring. But mine seems to be, it's just too liquidy still. And what I mean by that is you could see a lot of liquid in the batter, in the mix. So now I'm getting another scoopful, and I'm putting it in. And what's great about this is you're just doing it by the scoopful, so you're going to know that you can feel and see the consistency change as you're mixing it. Again, you want to get it to like a pancake batter type of mixture. Mine is still watery. And I'm going around. Once you get this good, you'll be set to go. So I'm just cleaning it off. And it's okay that your spoon is wet if it touches the cement bag, because it's going into the water anyway. So now I'm just crunching it up and getting rid of those clumps. And it's very wet still. It's really watery. So that's no good. Sometimes this takes a couple minutes to get it just right. So now I'm getting another one. Go around. In the meanwhile, while you're mixing your cement, you could be thinking about your pattern that you made. Now, if you didn't make a pattern, I highly suggest that you stop the video and spend, some time getting your pattern together. And again, what do I mean by the pattern? I mean the way that you want to lay it out. You could put it on a piece of loose leaf paper or cardboard next to you on the table, or I put it in like this old tray that I had, and so then I could just grab the pieces as I go and keep on going. And then I have my colors, I have my shapes, I have my sizes, and then as I'm going I can very simply just sort of change it if I need to. Now if some cement drops, just pick it up. It's not really dangerous in any way. It's non-toxic. You just don't want to breathe in a lot of fumes. That's why it's good to be outside with it. It does create a tiny bit of dust. So you want to be by an open window, or definitely be outside if you can, or garage, basement. If it's a hot day, if you have a fan blowing, don't blow it onto you. Blow it next to you, you don't want to have those fumes. It's not really fumes, it's just more dusty, but it's completely safe, so don't worry. And I'm almost there. I'm just getting it to perfect. And you're going to feel some crunchiness of the where it's very thick. Just keep on stirring that up. So that'll probably take you guys about 5 minutes. I'm just moving over closer to get a couple more. And I'm going to show you as soon as I get it to a good consistency. It's going to be at a consistency where it's not really going to drip. It'll be like batter that is like stuck on the spoon. You can tell it's wet, but it's not dripping. And that's the best place to start. Now, when you're working on your wood, you have made sure that you're on a piece of plastic or some paper, an old towel or some newspaper, because you don't want to get it on anybody's good stuff. And when cement is wet, it still can come off with water. But overnight, when it starts to dry, and by a day or two later, then it actually becomes hardened. And you probably know this from using cement or having a cement patio or your cement sidewalk out front. when you walk on it, you know that it's been dried for a number of days, and that it's hardened. So we can still work with this for a couple days, like a day and a half, until we get it aired. Then it gets air dried, and then it'll be time to be finished. Okay, so my batter is almost ready. I call it batter. It's like cookie dough, but it's cement. And the great thing about this is you can make as much or as little as you want, because you're going to make it cup by cup. And then that will allow you to do each section of your project in steps. Like you'll do one section, get it ready, and so on. Now, the great thing about cement is it doesn't set very quickly, so you can still move stuff around. Or you can push one piece, and another piece will move out of its place or to a new place, if that's what you want to move pieces around. I'm just giving one more spoonful here, and I'm just about ready, and then I'm going to show you. So actually, so far, the longest amount of time has been spent on the actual making of the cement. The making of the cement and the making of the pattern. But that's part of the fun. And then deciding on this great mosaic, like what you're going to do. So we have a lot of mosaics hanging up that people created, that I created, and they last forever. When you have your batter here, when you have your cement, it shouldn't really be too clumpy, and if you do have a lot of clumps, you want to try to smooth them out. So here's what it looks like. It's like a pasty batter, like a cake batter. It doesn't really drip, and there's no liquid water in it. Okay, so what I'm going to start with is I'm going to move my board down a little bit so you can see the edge. Here's my cup. You're going to decide where do you want to put your cup. And let's start with that first. So what I'm going to do is move the cup to the side, and then I'm just going to put some of the batter on the board. Couple little scoops of it, like this. And then I'm going to make it not completely flat, but I'm going to flatten it a little bit with the side of my popsicle stick. And the best way to do it is just hit it by the side and kind of smooth it so it comes out a little bit even. And it's about the thickness of, if you held a quarter in there or a dime, it's about the thickness of about half of a dime. So it can't be too skinny, it can't be too fat, but it has to be just right as far as you could stick stuff into it. So I'm going to add a little more, and then I'm going to sort of like a little bit of patting down, but not making it too skinny, and start making it covering. Let me move this over, you can see it a little bit better. So I'm covering. I'm getting a good, nice area. So I'm going to do this whole area here, and then I'm going to show you how to start putting down the tile. Now, if you've ever done tile or heard people do tile, like at your house or in your kitchen, in your bathroom, there's two real ways to do it. With the professional tilers, they put the tiles in first, and they have little spacers. With us, since we're making a art design, we're going to put the cement down first, because we have our pattern, and I'm bringing it right to the edge here so that I don't go over. Yeah, so you don't want to go over the edge, but you want to go right to the edge. So you bring it pretty close. If you happen to drip over, I'll show you what you're going to do. And I am coming across a couple of clumps of mine, so that's what's taken me an extra minute or two. And then I can always put another drop. Now the cement it's spreading out, but it goes a long way as far as, look how much surface area I covered. And then of course, once you put those tiles in, the tiles are going to take up space as well. And then they are going to fill up or fill in some of the holes. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. And now I know where I wanted my cup to go, right about here. So I'm going to smush it down right into the cement, making sure that all of the sides are touching. Then I have this little junky sponge that I bought. And later, if cement gets over or on top of a piece that I like, I'm going to wet this and I'm going to just brush it off. Or you can even use paper towels, you could use an old rag, things like that. So now I'm going to start grabbing at some of my pieces, and I'm going to start putting them around by pushing them in. Now, if it so happens that you have some pieces that are really, really thick, so that one I just put in was kind of thick. This one is a little bit thick. You want to make sure that they are covered on all the sides, and they're touching, the cement is touching them all around. Now, if it so happens that it's not, or you don't like the way it looks, you could add a tiny drop more of cement around it to give it that little bit of a coverage. Like this particular one was really thick, like it was a tall one. So I'm just add tiny, tiny little drops of cement around it to get that little extra coverage. And it just makes it look that much nicer that it's buried in there, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just putting little droplets of cement. Now again, if it gets on the top or it gets into a place that you don't want it to be, then we're going to wipe it off. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm putting it into those little grooves and crevices. Okay, got into a couple spots I don't really like. I'm going to take my little sponge here and I'm going to wipe them just gently off. And voila. Let's see if you can see it better. I'll turn it a little bit more. Okay. So let me see if I can lift this up a little. Yeah, that's even better. Okay. Let's put that up like that for you. Okay, so here's a red one, you can see. And then I put an orange colored. And I'm just going to tap it down again. And the thing about cement is, whatever you can see, if there's something you don't like, you want to fix it before it dries, because that will remain at the end. Okay, so then I have a couple. So now I'm going to go maybe try another piece. And I'm going to put that here. And then you just tap it in with your finger. And look how cool that is. Okay, and then you tap it down. And look, it got almost 100% covered. Good. Now we'll take another one. And now you see I'm getting to the edge of the cement here. So I'm just going to work my way back a little and go to the spots or spaces that I had over this way. And this one needs a little bit more because he's very tall. I'm going to turn this in a second so you can see it better. And if you want to take a break, you could shut the video and take a little break and then come back. Remember though that eventually, if you want to take a very long break, you're going to have to cover it. And if it's going to be overnight, the possibility does exist that it's going to start to harden. So it's not really a good overnight type of waiting project. So you want to try to get it done like in one sitting if possible. So hopefully, with the advice that I gave on the video, you might be able to watch the video and then come back to it if you aren't able to get it done. Like by either stopping the video or working on it additionally. Okay, so what I'm doing is just gently wiping them down. Now you don't have to do all of that now, but it certainly helps for later. You could see these pieces I put in, and I'm trying to do some more for you. Let's see, maybe I'll turn this a little bit so you could see it better, because that's the whole idea. There you go. Okay, so I stuck that in, and here's another piece I'm going to stick in right over here. Now these couple of pieces are very thick, so I'm just going to add a little bit more cement on the edges here. And that's okay because it's covering up the sides. And you can work with that little popsicle stick. If you have an old paintbrush, you know, that you don't like or use anymore, or that's broken, you could even use that. And it kind of covers up your nooks and crannies. And then you could wipe it down. And then you just keep going each section and covering the pieces, wiping them down. You want the cement to be in the grooves, not on the pieces. So when I do see it get on the pieces, I wipe them off gently. And at the end, we're gonna give it a final wipe down. But this also helps to keep your eye on your design and or know where your last piece was. So it's kind of fun that way. Okay, so I have a corner here that I might want to add. So I'm going to put this piece here. Oops, he fell down. And I just want to turn it. Get it into the good position. So the pattern you have is going to serve as a template. It gives you a nice idea of what you want to do and what you have available to you as far as your pieces go. So I always think it's a great service for you, because then you can see as an artist where you're headed. And I'm just filling in the little holes here. Remember, I don't have to go over the edge, but I could go up to the edge and make a nice little rounded edge. And you keep tapping them. It takes a few minutes, but gives you a beautiful design. And then I'm wiping it down. Well, that's a nice another red one there. Good. So now I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to put a couple of pieces this way on this side, I think. See what I can get here. And squeeze it in and squish it down. Good. And then it's really starting to come together, especially each section. You're going to do one by one. So this is covering a little bit, about a little bit more than like the bottom section, like the first quarter of it, let's say. And you get your nice design going. And then I'm going to wipe it. By wiping it too, you're filling in all those little spaces that the cement may not have been able to touch. So yeah, these sponges I got at the dollar store. Just you know, something that could even be disposable. You don't have to reuse it again. Or if you have an old towel or a rag, you can use that and fill them in. Good. And then I'm smoothing down the spots in between. to get a nice flow of color. Of my design. And I can pat down the cement, get it off the actual tiles, and just keep it in the section where it's next to the tiles. Okay, good. All right, so now I'm going to move a little bit on the side here and think about what I want to put here. Maybe another reddish colored one. Let's see. That one's pretty nice. Except it's a tiny bit big, so I'm thinking maybe I'll go a little bit smaller. So sometimes that happens. You get one that's maybe a little bit too long. That one was. So maybe I'll try this one. This one's a lot shorter. There we go. So that was a nice shorter one. So that happens sometimes. The fit might not be so good. And then just try a different one. Now, yeah, that one has, the one that fell off, I have on the side. That one has a little cement on it, so in a couple of minutes, I might use it for a different position. And I'm patting it down, and I'm putting the cement all the way around, covering all the sides, because this piece actually made it right to the edge of the board. So I'm patting it, then I'm cleaning it, cleaning off the top, and at the end, again, we're going to clean off the tops, because some cement is going to be like stuck in places that we might not want it to be, and we are going to work on that a little bit. Okay, so now I'm getting a nice piece for over here, a little bit of a squarish kind of rectangular shape. Needs a tiny bit more. Add a little bit. Add all around. And the cement is working out perfectly. It's the right consistency. It's not too watery, remember. If it seems to be too watery, it's going to be hard to work with. So you want to make sure it's not too watery. And very simply with the cement, if it seems too watery, you're going to just add a little bit more cement to it, the powder. Okay. All right, so now I'm just wiping off a little bit again. And I'm cleaning. And it's great to do it this way because I know some people who work with mosaics in the past might say, oh, you don't need to clean them each time. But it definitely helps with your pattern, and it helps in the end. Because imagine if you can't really see your pattern, you can wipe down the whole board and you could see your pattern that way. But I like to be able to know how my design's coming along. And that one came out gorgeous. Okay, so look at that so far. It doesn't really look like a mosaic as far as, oh, it's so beautiful. But it's coming along gorgeous. Okay, so now I'm twisting it and turning it this way, because remember, inside of the cup here, we have a whole bunch of pieces, and we want to get to that. You could see the actual wood is soaking up the cement. So I'm not going to go all the way into the cup, but I am going to put a couple pieces into the opening of the cup. And if I have a little skinny piece, I might put it on the side over here. Of the outside of the cup. And so I'm going to do that over here, and I'll show you that in a second. And then I'll just add some more cement while I'm covering it up, and then you guys can get an idea of it. So the idea is take a piece, put the cement, cover it up, and then uncover the parts that you want to, you want to show the tops of the tiles. And you just keep on repeating over and over again until you get the shape and the size that you like. And I'm going to show you this one in 1 second because I know it's a little bit hard to see because it's on this side. Okay. And also if there's any clumps. Okay, so see that one is nice and blue next to the cup. That came out cute. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the inside. And this is a pattern. These are the patterns that you're going to just keep on repeating over and over again for the whole entire board. So let me put a couple more here for this for where the opening of the cup is. And I have a couple little white ones I'm going to put here. I have white. So I'm going to make a little white section. And I'm just putting them into the cement. Sort of the top of the cup opening. I had a little pattern of white that I wanted to put in. So depending on what I'm going to use this for, well, I'm thinking I might hang it in my garden with some plants. So these little white chips came from an old salt and pepper shaker set that broke. So I always keep all the broken tiles or dishes or pieces because then I know eventually I'm going to use them again in my mosaics. Okay, so now look, we've come to the end of where we had put down our cement. And now I'm coming back and I'm putting more. And that's how you're going to keep on going. I'm still using my same cup, so it goes a really long way. And I'm adding. You could keep scraping down the sides of your cup. Use up every little drop that you have before you wind up making some more. So this little cup that I have here is going to cover probably 1/3 maybe of the board if I keep going with it, because look how far I got on it. Now remember this little piece before that fell off or that I didn't like the shape? So now I'm going to use the shape here. And I'm putting him in right there. I'm going to smooth the edge a little bit. Going to cover him up. The nicer that you cover them up on the edges, the smoother it looks. So if you're able to spend a little time on each one, cover them up, it comes out gorgeous. Then you can remove any excess with your little handy dandy sponge. Wipe them down. And again, remember later, we are going to wipe the whole thing down in case if there's some spots that got in the wrong place, we don't like it, or it's just not the right shape. You could still move that cement around. Gorgeous. Okay, so I added some more, and now I'm going to add some more tiles. And so add cement, add tiles, add cement, add tiles. And you keep on going, and look how far I got. Gorgeous, right? Now, when you get to the stopping point, when you're finished, you are going to put this in a nice, restful place where no one's going to touch it. and it's not going to get rained on or wet, let's say in the shower or something like that. And you're going to allow it to dry for a couple days when you're ready. But we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. This one has a little bit of a lump here. I'm trying to squish it down. Every so often you might hit a little lump. Just keep squishing. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that was a little stubborn one. He didn't want to come out. Okay. All right, so I keep going. And if your board has like a little notch in it or an opening, my board has a tiny opening in it from where the wood was, like a notch in it, I guess you call it. So I'm just filling those actually in. You could fill in the notch, if you have a notch in yours, you could fill them in with cement. And that's what I'm doing. Okay. Got a couple clumps down here. Here we go. Okay, so I'm actually using this little popsicle stick, and it's working really great. So here we go. Now I'm going to put a whole bunch of pieces in. And this is the pattern of your project. Okay, let's get some pieces going. Now, if the pieces are a little bit touching, you can just add a little bit of cement into the grooves next to them and keep on going and patching it up. So that one was a little bit close for me, so what I'm doing is just patching up the sides. And then you just keep on going. And the beauty of it in a few minutes is when we are going to sort of wash it down. When I say wash it down, I mean we're going to take a rag or a sponge, and you're going to just clean off each of the tile pieces. Once you clean it off like that, that's going to be your resting spot or resting time. Okay, so I am looking at the clock here, and I see that we are running low on time, so I just want to begin to wrap it up for you. And look how gorgeous that is. Okay, and my hands have been very safe. I haven't touched any thing sharp because I have my gloves on. So the very last thing I wanted to show you was we have these pieces of actual glass, and these pieces I like to use as an accent. So I might make them so they drip into my cup. So I'm thinking when I get up this way, I might make it as sort of like a little waterfall. So I'm going to I'll put one over here to show you. Now this is where they might be a little sharp because it's actually real glass. So I'm just putting some there. And here's going to go a green one. And I'm going to stick that right there. So I'm going to have a big pattern of glass that's going to come flowing down into my cup so that my cup will be collecting that. So look how that is so far. And that's been, in the time we've been together, so about 40 minutes. But let me show you the finished one. Again, so this is a finished one. And again, you see the flow of the pattern of the glass. you can make a design like that. That's what I was starting on the other one. This one shows it flowing out, but on the other one I was making today, it shows it flowing in. You could make the clusters again like I spoke about here. Different colors, clusters, shapes, sizes. Now notice how clean the top of this is. You can actually see all the colors of the mosaics. So what I do is when I finish my whole entire pattern and I get to the way I want it, I'm going to take this by the sink. Hopefully if you have a slop sink in the garage, you take it by there, and then you can wipe down each one of the tiles with a little droplets of water on the sponge. Wipe it down like this, slowly and gently taking away any excess that's on top of the actual tiles. And then you work on it for a little bit, see that it's nice and clean and that it's the pattern you like, and you could see the actual tiles. And then once you get it to the way you like it, you're going to have it rest and you're going to stop. Once you let it rest, the next day, actually about 48 hours, so 2 days, depending on the humidity in the air, it'll start to begin to be solid. It'll solidify. Okay, so I took my gloves off. So this is my stopping point, and you can see how beautiful this is. This is how yours is going to look when you finish. You have to work on it a little and clean it up, and it will look gorgeous. Well, I thank you so much for being with me today to work on this beautiful mosaic. Keep those gloves on, and you will not feel not one drop of sharpness from anything here. And it was wonderful working with you, and I hope to see you again. Thank you very much.